see. Just double check. Come on.
Okay, folks, I'd like to call this meeting to order at 7 p.m. Let's rise and pledge allegiance to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, we got a lot to talk about tonight. The second item on the agenda is guest and audience comments. So we have some guests with us tonight. Welcome. The third item will be approval of meeting minutes for two meetings, May 27th and June 24th. The fourth item is the chairman's report. And we'll first hear from our subcommittee reports. We've got communications first, and I believe Harvey has brought his exit poll letter for us to review and talk about. The second thing is an item in the subcommittee reports. There's Long Range Capital Improvements Committee. And the last is financial policies, and we want to discuss the grant authorization policy. Next is the first selectman's report. I'm not sure about that in a moment, but anyway, it's here. The next one is the finance director's report. We've got financials and audit updates to talk about. Seventh item is old business. The eighth item is new business. We've got some grant acceptances. Actually two. And then we got some authorizations for bonding. 3 or 4 of those. And we finished up the evening with an executive session to discuss a certain golf course. Okay, is that all clear to everybody?
I printed copies of that letter, so do you want me to do that and I'll pass it out?
Yes, I did not come equipped with enough.
That's okay. Is this the one you want?
Yep.
Okay, great. I'll make copies. I'll be right back.
Thank you.
Okay, next is guest and audience comments. Any comments this evening from the folks in the audience? State your name and address. Yeah, come closer to, yeah, that's right there. You can sit there.
I don't bite.
Jeff Walter, 16 Chittenden Lane. I'm a lifelong resident. I'm here tonight to talk about the just mentioned executive session. I've heard, a little bit about this potential transaction. Don't know a whole lot about it. I know that the Board of Finance approved it's like $10,000 for an appraisal some time ago or whatever. But in light of just completed budget season and a lot of the commentary about that, I'm hoping maybe, and if some work beyond the appraisal's been done, great. But I've probably done somewhere between 75 and 100 golf course acquisitions and financings all over the United States in the last 30 years. And the town just needs to stop making things harder on itself, and particularly because it ends up being harder on you. We can talk about this as an economic development project. There's not enough rounds of golf in that course to pay for whatever the town's going to have to pay. If the town wants to pay $1 million, put it in open space, that's one thing. But if the town is thinking about running a municipal golf course, just stop now. To do any deal, for one of my clients, and I have 2 major bank clients, what we do, and the value, the appraisals are just put off to the side, okay? We get a comprehensive valuation report. An appraisal is a part of that, but it looks at all the cash flow, upcoming capital expenditures, all of that. But more importantly, and these are required. The bank if the bank doesn't get these, they don't move forward the transaction. And these are new consultant reports, or they may be updates because a lot of times there's a pre-existing relationship and they're coming back to borrow more money, for some type of improvement. So we get updates. But you get an agronomist report, which talks about the condition of the turf. You get an environmental report, which can be multiple reports because you can think of it in terms of your usual phase 1 report, but then you have to also get into groundwater, chemicals, pesticides, what's been done on that golf course over the years. And my clients have walked away from deals purely on the basis of what's in those reports. You get an engineering report, water, irrigation, drainage, pathways. More critical and increasingly critical, and when you're talking about a municipal owned course, it's even more important, is you have to have an ADA compliance report, okay? And I can tell you, because I just closed a transaction earlier in the spring of a golf course here in Connecticut that did an ADA compliance update because they had been, sued for ADA non-compliance. And it was $6.7 million to redo cart paths, tees, and everything else, parking lots, because you got to look at the entire thing. It's not just the golf course.
Which was it again, sir?
That was $6.7 million. Okay. ADA, it could be licensing review. What is the license? Stormwater discharge, water discharge. The number of permits. Pesticide permits. Some of those may be in a consultant or somebody else, but you have to look at all that. And then the other stuff they look at is around, and it's a common parlance, is what's the round history. The bankers can look at this pretty quickly, and they want to know either last 3 years, maybe up to last 5 years of your, how many rounds of golf were there. And then it can expand from there because you got food and beverage, you got wedding and banquet, restaurants, pro shop, And then the other thing from a town perspective is you're running a business. Where's the startup working capital going to come from? Right? So if the town says, hey, we're going to flip the switch and we're going to run a golf course, day one, you haven't sold a round of golf. Maybe you've bonded and bought X, Y, and Z, and you've put in another $3 million into the course to bring it up to speed. But you're going to have 25 to 50 employees there day one. Who's going to pay that until the cash flow starts to come in? But and then it comes back to the town. Your finance director is going to have to be dealing with, this. You're adding it to the budget. It's going to get audited. It's, and I'll just stop there. I mean, because those are the questions to ask. If you're going to put it in open space, ignore everything that I'm talking about. But if the idea is, hey, we're going to run a municipal golf course, I just don't think this, even if the numbers work, which I doubt they will, golf as an industry, if you look at the, and I was just reading an underwriting report, they expect golf to slightly increase over the next 5 years. Most of that growth, however, is going to be in private clubs as, there's a generational turnover, and those private clubs to attract, the Gen X and Gen Zs and all that need to put in huge capital improvements. They're increasing membership fees and initiation fees and all of that to pay for it. But, the next generation mandates top of the line courses. If it's not top of the line, they're not going to be going there. About 1/3 of courses lose money on golf operations nationally. I mean, that's just the way it is. And we're not a private course, with members to assess. In a municipal-owned course, the members are the taxpayers, and we as a town tend to get into projects. We get in a little bit. Don't want to really spend, $100,000, $200,000 on consultants to tell us if we should go a little bit further, on the front end. And this is a case where, a lot more needs to be known about this, because, where are you going to put it? Our Parks and Rec, committee, you know, they're not set up to run a golf course. I mean, you know, Simsbury, West Hartford, the places where we're bond council and I know have courses. But I can also tell you, there's a CapEx line every year in the West Hartford budget, or bonding every year in the Simsbury budget or the Manchester budget for the municipal owned courses. It just never stops. And, with that, hopefully I've given you a little more education to ask some more questions about whatever this might be tonight in the final.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Since I'm here.
We all know who you are, but would you state your name, please?
Yep, I'll get to it. Deb Danette, Shulman, Veselak Road. I just wanted to say, in reviewing your agenda tonight, I was disappointed to see almost $16 million worth of bonding proposals on the agenda, most of which should be capital improvement projects. That's all.
Thank you. Anybody else like to make a comment or? Okay. No other comments from the audience? Anybody electronically?
Check one more time, I didn't at the beginning of the meeting. Nothing right now.
Okay, thank you. All right, moving on to the next item of the agenda is approval of meeting minutes. May I hear a motion to approve the May 27th meeting minutes? May I hear a second? Bill moves, do I hear a second? Second. Joe seconds. Any discussion? Short and sweet. There being no other additions or corrections, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The meeting minutes are approved. Okay, next one is June 24th. So may I hear a motion to approve the meeting minutes for June the 24th?
So
Bill moves. May I hear a second? Second. Thank you, Joe. Is there a second? Any additions or corrections? I have a couple. Top of page 3. Okay. Good documentation of the vote to rescind. Do we have anywhere in the minutes why we're rescinding? So if somebody reads these minutes.
It's just the actual motion for rescinding. Would you like to amend the minutes to include
Yes, I think it'd be
something like that?
helpful to add a note.
Under item C,
Yeah, add a
right,
note.
'cause that's the rescission, okay.
Yep.
Okay.
Thank you. Okay, next one is straightforward and simple. Under adjournment, again on the bottom of page 3, motion made by Mr. Barney to adjourn the meeting at 9:57 p.m. It's Mrs. Goff,
yeah,
right?
it is. I didn't see that. I missed that myself. Looking at these.
I snuck in.
Good one. Okay,
Thank you very much.
thank you.
There being no other additions.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
so then on the first page, Mrs. Goff was not here. So should that be struck because she did
You
show up?
already, I missed that one.
Oh, wow.
She did
so-
show up, but late, a couple minutes late.
Yeah. Just a minute, what meeting is this?
June 24th.
June 24th, yeah. Just a minute. Check my records.
Start the recording too.
Yeah, I can check the recording. But I don't have that handy. Well, I don't have a June 24th meeting.
I will double check that, and if she truly seconded the adjournment, I'll make sure she's not absent. If that works. I can double check that.
Okay, yes, thank you. All right, so may, all those in favor of the meeting minutes as amended and corrected, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay,
Mr. Chairman, I'll abstain because I was not at the meeting.
thank you, Eric. Got a note that, thank you. So you weren't, that's right. Yeah, she must have come late. Okay, we'll see, we'll find out.
I'll make that correction.
All right, thank you very much for approving the meeting minutes. Next is the chairman's report. We'll start with the subcommittee reports, first of which is communications. And this time Harvey wrote a very nice article summarizing the exit poll history and commenting on the results of that. So have you all had a chance to read it? I think it's very good. I think it's excellent. This is the kind of thing we need to do. So thank you, Harvey, for doing that. And we'd like to put this in the East Haddam News, obviously, for everybody else to read. So do we need a motion to do that? Let's get a consensus. I don't think so
We'll
either.
do the review and make sure that that's what everybody wants to put out, right?
Do you have any comments?
I would appreciate it if someone, in the second sentence, I had thank you without a space.
We'll do a typo review. That's a good point, before it goes to the newspaper. Valerie and I will do that.
Okay.
Of course, you folks are welcome to do it as well, in your spare time.
Eric gets a pass because he caught it already.
Thanks, Harvey.
All right, once again, thank you very much. This is excellent.
While we're on the subject,
Yes.
if you notice in there, it makes reference to the fact that there was a section on these guys for comments, and that we had reviewed and discussed the comments after the first failed referendum. And I included a sentence that we would review the comments from the second referendum, which we have not yet done.
So, do you have the comments separated, or you want us to come back and talk about it at our meeting next time?
I'm not going to review all of these, trust me. If they're going to be reviewed, we'll do it the way, in my opinion, it would make sense to do it the way we did it the first time. Here are 6, count them, 6 piles.
That's a good number.
3, 4, 5, 6. And to discuss, we could do this, I suggest we could do the same as we did after the first referendum. Next meeting, people could have a couple of notes and we could briefly review them. Or we could take the sentence out and decide that we don't care to review them. That's up to the consensus of the group.
I believe we should review the comments. People took the trouble to write them. We should review them. So let's.
Pass them around.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay. So, oh, I'm sorry.
I'm reading this, and I thought this was the first time, and we're looking at this. Strikes me, and I'm looking at 1, 2, 3 between these third and fourth paragraphs. Inserting something that relates to the fact that the Board of Finance used the results and the information contained in the exit poll in developing its proposed budget for the second referendum. Language something on it. In other words, saying to people that your input mattered. That's all. You know, it doesn't have to be, I wouldn't go into great detail, but I was just thinking that maybe it's just reinforcing to people that filling this out did matter and it did have an impact on how we proceeded. Just a thought.
I was trying to speak to that in the first paragraph. We could go a little deeper.
Yeah, something, that's all I'm just trying to say. I just want people to know not the detail of how we use it, but that we used it in our deliberations and the decisions we made. Yeah,
If I would listen.
Yep.
And we act.
yep,
So,
that's all. Somehow, I don't know where that would fit. It probably wouldn't be any more than a sentence or two. Just to reinforce it to people.
well, I try to say the same thing. I was struggling with that, so I ended up writing the first paragraph and sent it to Harvey. That's a very important point. Well, in fact, the turnout increased 60% based upon the more talk about it and us putting up signs and the telephone call. It all helped get people to come out and vote, as well as the referendum value itself. So, so Bill, why don't you write a few words to what you think should go in this letter? We'll put it right up front, so people read that first. That's the important message. Okay, and we'll be prepared to talk about this. We meet again in September. Be able to put an article in the paper. We could have a special meeting, have it done sooner, if you think that's more appropriate, or we can wait till September.
If I may make a suggestion?
Yes.
I'm more than happy after Valerie has corrected my typo and Bill has suggested a wording improvement. If you're happy with it, I'm happy with it. We don't need a meeting we certainly don't need a meeting. And as I tried to say when I circulated the thing right after I wrote it, is old news ain't news at all. If you wait till October to get it into the paper, it sort of dilutes the usefulness of it quite considerably. So I'm more than happy to, you guys, I'm happy if you're happy.
Okay, understood?
Feel about that. I don't speak for them.
Deadline for the paper is Wednesday at 5 o'clock, I believe. Do you think you can look these comments over in 24 hours so we can be fully honest? We said we read the comments, and we want to, we can talk about them at our next meeting. But as far as getting the article in, we can do that fairly quickly. So, how's that sound? Because we want to get in before the deadline.
Yeah, that was my point, really is.
Harvey, would you mind sharing this draft? I got an earlier draft, I think, in my email. If you could share this one, that'd be
Send
great.
it to you tomorrow morning,
Thank you,
if
perfect.
I get up.
God willing.
We'll get you up, Harvey, don't worry about it. So, okay, so folks, read the comments over next 24 hours. We'll send Harvey and myself an email, and maybe you want to make a comment yourself, just so that when we tell in the East Hampton News that we read the comments, we read the comments. We're gonna talk about them
I
later.
can. The responses to the exit poll and the comments which participants provided to the Board of Finance played a critical part in the board's deliberation and in developing a proposed second budget.
Sounds good.
So does that basically,
That's my paragraph.
does that substitute for the existing
No,
first?
I was just thinking of just putting it in there, maybe adding it. That's all. All I'm trying to do is just let people know that their words matter. You know, so if you went up there, increase that, and then just say, after first, second referendum, they'll if you want. I mean, that's all.
Could you send that to us, email, which just,
Well,
I should give it,
I'm old, but
Why
I
don't
do have
you
a
just give it to
snail
Val?
mail.
why don't you
I
just-
can't.
I give it to Val.
I mean, I can.
I can type, it's all right.
So can I. These two fingers do wonders.
Thank you, Val.
Perfect.
Okay, any other comments, questions regarding the communications article on the East Hampton News? Which I think is great. Absolutely great. Okay, next item is Long Range Capital Improvements Committee. Any discussion there?
Oh, it's a work, Valerie and I are fussing, it's kind of a work in progress.
Okay. All right. When is your next formal meeting, the Long Range Capital Improvements Committee?
Discuss that with Ms. Haynes. Before that happens, Val and I will have a proposal for Board of Finance to look at as to how to simplify and streamline it and make it so that when we get to the 59th minute of the 11th hour, everybody just doesn't throw their hands up and say, we're gonna abandon all of that and just do what we want.
Okay, thank you, Harvey. Another item is financial policies, particularly the grant authorization policy.
Everybody should have a copy of the draft we talked about a little bit at the last meeting, right?
Yeah, is that in this stapled packet?
No, it's a loose leaf I passed out earlier.
Oh, short, oh,
Yep, short one.
yes. Okay, let's read this over. Okay, it's dated June 14th. Number one, grant applications must be approved by the Board of Finance prior to submission to the granting entity. Make sense? Any discussion? Number two, except if the grant application is A, no more than some dollar amount,
That's what we need to discuss. That's what
and,
we're back here
okay, and B, we'll come back to that. And B, the grant applied for involves no requirement for town matching funds. And C, the grant, if received and accepted, will not require future town operating or capital expenditure. No strings. And D, grant applications meeting these conditions may be submitted without prior Board of Finance approval, but must be initialed by the finance director or designee prior to submission. Okay? So let's go back to item A. Except if the grant application is no more than some dollar amount. And I'll start over again. Number one, grant applications must be approved by the Board of Finance prior to submission to the granting entity. Except if the grant application is no more than some dollar amount. What should that dollar amount be? Any suggestions?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, Eric.
I'll give a starting point. Valerie, just to be clear, for something to go out to bid, it needs to be, it has to be over.
A competitive bid is over 15,000. You have to have multiple quotes between 7,500 and 15,000. But competitive bid process is 15,000 and over.
So would that be a good starting point since
Yeah, right,
I
yeah.
would say, because anything over 15,000 has to go out to bid anyway, so if it's a grant,
Right.
just throw that number out there. That's my idea.
It's a good place to start, Eric. we don't like it, we can change it later on, but it's a good place to start. Any other comments from you folks?
What is the average grant we get? How much? Range, if you can't ballpark it.
You know, to be quite honest with you, it's either really small or really big. Sometimes it's $5,000 or we're getting, you know, we don't have to apply for town aid road, but we get large state and federal funding, you know, funding for grants. But this really pertains to, like we get the historic preservation grant for $6,000. It happens every single year. Rec gets some grants every single year.
Okay.
And what's happening is sometimes you miss the meeting, you miss your opportunity to apply, you miss your permission to apply. And we don't want to stop grants that don't have a match, that won't cost us any money, extra money, from going through the application process based on the Board of Finance's. Now, we still need to track them, which is what this is saying. We still need to have a formal process because we don't want everyone out applying for their own grants everywhere, not having it come through the finance office and through the Board of Finance. But some sort of policy like this at least will help us streamline a little bit so that those types of grants that we have no obligation to won't be stopped by our own policy, you know?
Is it about 15K?
Yeah,
So
that's a,
basically
yeah.
what we're saying is 15,000 or less can be on your signature.
Right, and you'll all get them as a view, you know, and at the next meeting. We just don't want it to stop the process if, for example.
This is saying 15,000 if we pick that and under can be done on your signature.
Right,
Okay,
yeah,
making sure
that was the suggested dollar.
Todd, I have a question.
Go ahead.
So I know why this makes sense, but since this falls on you, Val, if for anything under the whatever dollar amount we're at, what might we be missing? What concerns do you have?
I just want to make sure it all comes to the finance office.
Seems like
The way that the process is forces everyone to go through Board of Finance, and I want to keep at least a funnel coming through at least one of us, right? Because if someone goes out and applies for a grant that we don't know about, that's a problem. That's my concern, right? But this still allows Finance and Board of Finance to see it. It's just not requiring, for example, if there was a grant deadline on 8/31, we've had situations where it says, oh my gosh, I don't have authorization to apply because I'm not gonna make it by the September Board of Finance meeting. So this allows for, you know, there's no match, so there's no financial obligation for the town. The criteria here, you know, so that they could still apply and it would be a view to the board and, you know, they'd still fill out the application that we have. It'd still follow that documentation process. It just wouldn't have to have formal graces from the board in order to apply.
What's the current threshold?
We don't have one.
You don't have any at all.
No, it just, every grant has to follow that process.
Right. Thank you. Yeah, I'd support 10 or 15, but I think we should follow up on it next summer and make sure that make sure nothing's getting.
Like it's working, yeah. Okay.
I'm just curious, where did this policy come from?
Harvey Thomas.
Basically,
He drafted it, yeah.
Well, and my law degree.
Very simple.
Because your law degree would be much longer.
It's true. A little more complicated. It's too simple to be from a law degree.
Yes, Bill.
Question, is this something we want to act upon tonight?
I'm going for that. It's a good
The
policy.
only reason I ask is that we're going to have when we get the new business added. To keep it consistent with
Well, I have
government procedure.
I have the financial policies are on the agenda.
But if I can't, they're on report. What you're
Right.
doing is if you're going to approve it,
we put it, the motion under new business, okay.
Which
yeah,
means we need to amend, when we get to it, new business to add it.
Right,
You just can't bring it up, because it's Monday and the parliamentary procedure expert in the room was telling me that that kind of is the way we should do it.
Or we can let it become effective, the 1st of September. And not worry about it.
well, we'd still have to act on it
Right.
tonight,
Yeah,
right,
you
right,
can't just-
right.
I don't think there is
Or
any
we
automatic
review
exception.
again in September,
Say again?
or we review again in September, or,
We can, if people are happy with it, we can amend, since it's not a special meeting, we can amend our agenda when we get to that point and vote on it if we feel we wanna vote.
Okay,
Have we settled on a dollar amount yet?
I thought that there was 15K.
Yeah.
Was the number.
so no issues with the 15K, Harvey? You okay?
Like, for you guys,
Yeah.
I will point out, though, that assuming that people follow this, they fill out the grant application form that ordinarily it goes to Val, and Valerie has this in front of her and can look at it and say, oh, no, this has to go to the Board of Finance, or you're okay. So we have sort of a traffic cop. Very good. Moving right.
So what you're saying, Harvey, I think, is this is good, but we need a process for people to follow.
Oh, they already have one, because
the process, we're putting a couple more parameters around it, so it's, because it's been blocking a lot of
What do you mean?
deadlines and things, so we're putting more parameters around it to
trying to make
make
it
it flow easier, right?
easier for,
Make it easier and disciplined at the same time.
Can we add this to every grant application as an attachment, so everybody
Reminder,
is aware?
yeah, I can
Application
say
and
something
this-
like see
print it on two sides and put it on the back.
It's true, yeah, I could always have it on the back, or, see grant submission policy. Before submitting this form.
Okay. There's a lot of things we can do to improve the process and communicate it after this is approved, but the bottom line is, are we approving this submission policy? We want to approve that tonight. We have to add it to the agenda. So is it your pleasure to move that we add this item to the agenda of a regular meeting? We call the item grant submission policy.
Move to in the agenda to add under new business an item
I would maybe
D?
say, well,
whatever it is.
I might even, we could do it before F,
That's fine. I mean, just
okay,
give me a letter,
it would be the new F,
new F, to approve the proposed grant application policy. I think that's right. Close enough.
Thank you, Bill.
Second,
Harvey seconds. Any discussion? We're adding this to the agenda under item, what, F? New business, you don't need F. F is the executive session.
I made this F and then executive session will be G,
Oh,
we put it in there, this is the new F.
okay.
But I did it before that, so we don't have to do it after.
So do we have to amend Bill's motion to say this is the new F and the G is for executive session?
We alluded to that, I'll make sure, Yep.
Editorial change.
yeah.
Okay. All right, any discussion? We're all clear on this motion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? Motion passed unanimously. So we have the item added to our agenda when we get there. Okay. So don't let me forget the new F.
Okay, the new map. Okay, we
We've got
can do
rolling
this.
here.
We can do this. We do
Okay,
it.
thank you very much, gentlemen. That was good. Thank you, Valerie, for the. Okay, let's move on now to, nothing more under chairman's report. Let's move on to first selectman's report. She's not here, so we'll go on next to the salaries report, finance director's report.
We have very preliminary year-end, June 30th reports and also May reports. So I owed you May and June. So May 30th, 31st, and June reports. We're still processing some 2025 payments, so these could change slightly, but you will see them again, the June reports, and you will get a final, ready to submit to the audit June reports. There could be some minor changes. But you can see on the summary page, I kind of skipped over May. Feel free to let me know if you have questions about May. But I figured everybody really wanted to look at June anyways. Budget to actuals were in the positive for expenditures and both revenue. So the expenditures were under budget by 1.9 million, and we actually were under budget on revenue. So we didn't collect all the revenue we intended to collect. So we needed to have collected 432,000. But like I said, there could be, I wouldn't say massive year-end adjustments, but these numbers could fluctuate based on some year-end close entries. But if anybody has any questions, let me know.
Yes, I do. Where are we uncollected? The fourth.
It looks like local revenues mainly. A little bit in taxes, and that could be related to, I don't have the detail in front of me, but that taxes budget, it's tax collections, but it's also interest and penalties, and if we didn't hit that interest and penalties budget exactly, that could have been a problem there. Local revenues are under, I'm sorry, it's the exact opposite. Those are all over, taxes are over. The revenue flips the other way, I'm sorry. Local revenues are over, it's intergovernmental agencies, so state funded revenue is under by $10,000. And then transfers in other funding sources. So what that actually is a portion of the utilization of fund balance that we did not use, right? So the utilization of fund balance would come in should we need it on the expenditure side, but we don't, so it's showing under on that. We didn't utilize that revenue. We didn't draw it down from the general fund, from fund balance. So it looks like because we had budgeted for 1.15 or 1.14 million, it looks like we're under budget. So it'll be I hope to say that we'll have a positive amount going back to fund balance again. I should have some more solid June reports next month because we'll be ready to ramp back up for the next audit and get all that going, so.
If I can, that means then everything sticks at the fund balance. We'll pick up $1.1 million.
Mm-hmm. Correct.
Yeah.
Roughly, yeah.
Where's that money gonna go?
Fund balance, it's our savings, yeah.
Fund balance that we took a lot out of to.
So you only take it out when you need it, right? So we're budgeting for fund balance. So we budgeted for, I think in this budget in 25, it was 1.145 million. And because our expenses are under budget by 1.9, we won't need to draw down to use that. But it's something we're gonna have to keep an eye on, I think, into the 26 budget year because of the usage of fund balance there. But I'm gonna create I've started it already, I wanna create like a fund balance. It's kind of this elusive number that nobody sees, and you only see it in the audit at the end of the year. So in other towns that I worked in, we kind of had a fund balance tracking sheet because recently, remember, we approved money out of special appropriation out of fund balance for the firehouse committee. So we should see those numbers, and, you know, any other special appropriations that come up, you know, and then you get a new update every year, a new sheet every year with a new fund balance number, and then that kind of the activity that happens throughout the year. So I'm gonna start so that you guys can have a visual of that, and it's not just always one time of the year in the audit.
Okay.
I was just gonna say, the activity in it could be an appendix to the financial report you give us each month.
Right, yeah,
Here's where we started. And
yeah. Mm-hmm.
When I went through this,
Mhm.
and I'm looking at things, for instance,
Are you in June?
$177,000 under in police officers.
Mm-hmm.
That is vacancy not filled?
Multiple vacancies
Multiple
not filled,
vacancies.
but they're being filled as we speak, just time of the year. They were
would
not
be
filled for
in
quite
the
some time.
26 budget.
Right, yep,
And then I come down $373,000 on general highways.
mm-hmm. I believe there were vacancies, there could be unused maintenance money, you know, building maintenance, truck maintenance money.
And I'm just sitting here
That's a
looking
really,
at,
that's a very complex budget, so we'd have to kind of really look into that one, I don't know.
And my only reason is, I mean, we talk about all the issues there. You know, I mean, you've got a $1.4 million line item, and almost $400,000 of it isn't spent. You know, you begin to say, gee, was that necessary? That's all. I mean, I just find looking at those kinds of, if you will, over appropriations or under expenditures and what caused them.
Mhm.
And because budgets tend to roll, you know, so now you take that line, which is almost $400,000 under. Was that underage reflected in the 25-26 budget?
Mhm.
Probably not. Probably not. Same thing with the snow removal, you know. But again, that's a crapshoot anyhow. Old Farmer's Almanac says it's going to be a snowier winter. Just to let you know, won't be out till September, but I'll give you a heads up to everybody.
I hope so.
I'm just telling you what they're saying. Okay.
I should ask you this question sooner, but do we see it for June of 2024?
Yeah, right.
You see the same kind of numbers?
Yeah, so look at a few columns over. You've got multiple columns here. You've got unaudited 23-24 actuals. So this is the first column is the whole year. And then the second one in is the prior year actual for the same period. In this case, it's all the same, right? Because it's year end and year end. But you would see here if there were April financials, that first column would be the actuals for the whole year, and then it would be a comparison of April versus April. You know, what we're looking at right in April this year and what you would look at for April last year. So same period prior year. But when you're looking at June, it's all the year-end totals. But yeah, you do have those what happened last year numbers on this report.
So it looks about the same? Or way off? I can't.
So go to May, real quick. I'll show you May. Let's go to May and we'll go to general highways again. So the whole total for the year was the 1.257, right? But the year to date through May was 1.15 million. Then you have your budget for 24-25.
Yep.
And then your actuals for May, right? So that column would compare to the prior year actual of the same period. It just gets tricky in June because June is, of the prior year, is the final numbers as well. They're, you know, they're both the same.
I just
You're
want,
looking at all final numbers, June against June.
My only reason for asking that, and I actually kind of looked at things like that. And in 23-24, the budget was 1.2 million for general
Those are
highway.
actuals.
With 1.255 million for general highways. That number was increased for this year
Mhm.
to $1.4 million. But we spent $400,000 less. So we raised the budget by $150,000. But we're spending less. See what I'm saying? These
yeah,
are the
I
kinds of
understand.
things that the snow removal I won't deal with because you never know. I'll give you snow removal. But those are the kinds of things. And I was also looking, for instance, police, because the year before, the money allocated and the money spent, right on.
Mhm.
But we added a lot of money for this year. Something in excess of close to $150,000. And we're still $177,000 under. I mean, I'm just saying, those are the kinds of, when you're making a budget, you know, that's what you look at. Gee, this is what I spent last year. How am I balancing this off? That's how the snowball starts, is my point. And, you know, we listen to the explanations, and I'm not suggesting other than there's some places we need to be maybe paying a little bit more attention to. When you see that, it kind of jumps out at you, or at least it does to me, because I can go home and look at my checking account. It doesn't quite work this way. Maybe that's me.
Howie, could you investigate for us and report back to us at our next meeting in September? Why the excess numbers?
Sure.
And I will tell you mine, I understand the police. I understand the issues
And
there.
it's the same, I would say.
But if you have an
in
issue with the
Department
general
of Works
highways.
is there was vacancies and
Right, but
you know, and,
that's general highways.
right, that's public works.
Right,
That's-
I understand, you know what I'm saying? I would like to know where the $400,000 miss, how it occurred,
Mhm.
that's all.
I can look at some more reports.
Because I did notice, just as an aside, just so the public knows that we were talking about that. You should know that the Board of Finance got 0% increase in the new budget. In our salaries, they went up now. We got no increase at all, zero, flatlined. Should work for the general highways.
Thank you, Valerie.
Mhm.
We cut you off at your report, so.
That's okay.
So
Any
you think-
questions, let me know. It won't be the last time you see June. And then by next month, you'll be seeing two reports for a little while. We'll move into the new fiscal year and we'll keep looking at this June report until it's audit ready. If anybody has any questions in the meantime, just let me know.
This report we're looking at goes on the website.
Mm-hmm.
We'll get questions most likely from the general public as well.
Mm-hmm.
That's the only reason why I'm asking you to research the numbers.
Sure, definitely.
Okay, there being no other comments on our monthly year-end report. What's next on the agenda? Is the audit update?
Yeah, I think we'll just keep this on the agenda all the time. I feel like we've just constantly been in an audit. So we're preparing for the 25 audit. Auditors came out to do prelim work in July, which was great. Probably won't see them back in the office again until November. But our target is to be mostly completed and closed out by then. And I'll just keep it as an agenda item to keep you informed. Right now, we're just preparing and closing year end and opening the new year and crossing our T's and dotting our I's, so getting everything audit ready.
Thank you. We're ahead of last year's audit, right?
Very much so. Very much so.
That's good. Okay, next item on the agenda is old business. We have none. All right, moving on to item 8, new business, grant acceptance. Allen Bench Fund and Wayland Family Fund at the Community Foundation of Middlesex County. Let me see. We have some text for that.
That's
Yeah, there's an acceptance letter there.
Oh, the acceptance letter, all right. We need to read that?
Oh,
No, we just need to, the motion on the table is
Okay.
discussed, right?
The item is the motion, okay. May I hear a motion to accept a grant in the amount of $5,000, $5,000.00, $5,000 from the Allen Bench Fund and Wayland Family Fund at the Community Foundation of Middlesex County for the purpose of supporting summer 2025 camp programs. Revenue account 28045-44709-R1099 and expense account 2804503356900-R1099 and request the Board of Selectmen to schedule a town meeting for approval.
So moved.
Bill moves. May I hear a second?
Second.
Eric seconds. Any discussion? There being none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is passed unanimously. Thank you very much. The next one is a grant acceptance from the M. Jones Family Fund. At the,
Similar,
is that?
it's a very similar
Yeah,
grant for the purpose of the grant.
it's pretty much identical. Oh, no, different. Oh, it is identical. A motion is, damn it. Grant acceptance for the M. Jones Family Fund, the Community Foundation of Middlesex County. May I hear a motion to accept a grant in the amount of $5,000 from the M. Jones Family Fund and Wayland Family Fund at the Community Foundation of Middlesex County for the purpose of supporting summer 2025 camp programs. Revenue account 28045-44709-R10099 and expense account 2804533-56900-R1099 and request the Board of Selectmen to schedule a town meeting for approval.
So moved.
Bill moves. May I hear a second?
Second.
Eric seconds. Any discussion?
I just, a question, and maybe you know this. We have the Dench and Wayland family, and then we come down to Jones and Wayland again.
Oh. Is that a
In the profile.
typo or is it in the acceptance
No,
letter?
it's in the motion to set, that's why I wondered, is that just somebody didn't hit the right delete button?
Maybe because I'm looking at the acceptance letter and it doesn't say anything about Wayland, so we're gonna take that out.
In the
But
second, the motion I just made.
correct, yeah. So we need to,
So Wayland's aren't involved at
it's
all?
the M. Jones Family Fund on the second one.
Oh, just delete the second one.
Yeah, delete
Okay.
the and Wayland Family Fund.
If I can then.
Wait, let's amend the motion. Go ahead, Eric.
And then looking at it as well, the M. Jones Family Fund, it says, I'm delighted to enclose the Community Foundation of Middlesex County grant check in the amount of $1,000.
Oh, is that a whole copy? Is that how the other one read? So one is approving a grant and the other one is they're both acceptance of grants, right? Yeah.
Did I get a second to my motion?
Yes, Eric.
I
Okay, so-
suggest he withdraws his second and I'll withdraw my motion.
Okay.
And then we can start all over again.
Okay. All right, there we go. So we cross off the N Whalen and it's 1,000.
So it's not 5,000, it's
It
1,000.
is not 5,000. The first one is 5,000.
So just a-
Okay, good job, guys.
Okay, but still to the Community Foundation of Middlesex County?
Correct. Just the M. Jones Family Fund.
Okay. May I hear a motion to accept a grant in the amount of $1,000 from the M. Jones Family Fund at the Community Foundation of Middlesex County for the purpose of supporting summer 2025 camp programs, revenue account 28045-44709-R1099, and expense account 28045-033-56900-R1099, and request the Board of Selectmen to schedule a town meeting for approval.
So moved.
Well moved. May I hear a second?
Second.
Eric seconds. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion is passed unanimously. Okay. Next one is resolution authorizing an appropriation of $10 million for road improvements and the financing of said appropriation by the issuance of general obligation bonds of the town and notes in anticipation of such bonds in an amount not to exceed $10 million, or so much as may be necessary after deducting grants therefore.
So we'll need to read the whole resolution. We have 3 of them tonight for the 3 recent projects. You'll read right through every single word on these sheets. At the end, there's a motion made by the board members for this resolution, and we'll have the secretary sign. They're returned to bond council, and this is the Board of Finance's section of getting these projects ready to be approved by the town. So the Board of Selectmen have read resolutions, they go through the Board of Finance, and it prepares us to get these items to referendum to be voted at by the town.
Okay, where is the motion for us to approve?
And it'll be on the very
on the
last
back
page, yeah,
Oh, I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
but we'll have to read through everything.
Right.
Take a deep breath.
Yeah. Okay. Resolution, Town of East Haddam, Board of Finance. Resolution authorizing an appropriation of $10 million for road improvements and the financing of said appropriation by the issuance of general obligation bonds of the town and notes in anticipation of such bonds in an amount not to exceed $10 million, or so much as may be necessary after deducting grants therefore. Resolved at the Board of Finance, the Board of the Town of East Haddam, is referred to as town, accepts the recommendation of the Board of Selectmen adopted at its meeting held on August the 6th, 2025, and recommends to the electors and citizens eligible to vote at town meetings of the town the following. 1, that the town appropriate the sum of $10 million for costs related to the pavement resurfacing, crack and chip sealing, mill and overlay, drainage improvements, maintenance work, reclamation, and or reconstruction of and repair and improvements to all or portions of certain town roads selected by the Public Works Department in accordance with the recommendations made in the pavement management study conducted by Beta Group Incorporated for the town, and it's referred to as the project. The appropriation may be spent for design and construction costs, materials, site improvements, the preparation of schematic drawings, plans and specifications, bid documents, grant applications, reports and studies, informational materials, and other preliminary materials, architect's fees, engineering fees, design fees, permit fees, legal fees, capitalized interest, cost of issuance, financing costs, and other expenses related to the project or its financing. The Board of Selectmen is authorized to determine the scope and particulars of the project. The Board of Selectmen may reduce or modify the scope of the project, and the entire appropriation authorized hereby may be spent on the project as so reduced or modified. Number 2, that to finance said appropriation for the project, the town issued general obligation bonds and/or notes pursuant to Chapter 10109 of the Connecticut General Statutes, revision of 1958, as amended, referred to as the Connecticut General Statutes, or any other applicable provision of law thereto enabling in an amount not to exceed $10 million, or so much thereof as may be necessary after the deduction of grants or other sources of funds received by the town for the project. Number 3, that the town issue and renew notes from time to time in anticipation of the receipt of the proceeds from the sale of the bonds or notes for the project or the receipt of grants for the project. The amount of the notes outstanding at any time shall not exceed $10 million. The notes shall be issued pursuant to Section 7-378 of the Connecticut General Statutes. The town shall comply with the provisions of Section 7-378A of the Connecticut General Statutes with respect to any notes that do not mature within the time permitted by said Section 7-378. Number 4, that the first selectman or a majority of the Board of Selectmen and the treasurer, otherwise referred to as the officials, may be authorized to sign any bonds or notes by their manual or facsimile signatures and to determine the amounts, the rates of interest, the dates, maturities, dates of principal and interest payments on such bonds and notes, the form of such bonds and notes, the provisions for protecting and enforcing the rights and remedies of the holders of such bonds and notes, and all other terms, conditions, and particular matters relating to the sale, issuance, and securing of such bonds and notes, and to execute, sell, and deliver the same, and provide all supporting documentation as may be necessary or desirable to accomplish such purposes, and to comply with the requirements of the Internal Revenue Code of 1986 as amended. Securities and Exchange Commission Rule 15C2-12, otherwise known as Rule 15C2-12, and in accordance with the provisions of the Connecticut General Statutes and any other act of the General Assembly thereto enabling. The bonds and notes authorized hereby shall be general obligations of the town secured by the full faith and credit of the town. Number 5, that the officials are hereby authorized to designate a bank or trust company to be the certifying bank, registrar, transfer agent, and paying agent for such bonds and notes, to provide for the keeping of a record of the bonds or notes, to designate a municipal advisor to the town in connection with the sale of the bonds or notes. That the law firm of Updike, Kelly, and Spalacy, P.C., Hartford, Connecticut, is designated as the attorneys at law to render an opinion approving the legality of such issue or issues. Number 6, that the officials are authorized to sell the bonds or notes at a public or private sale, to deliver the bonds or notes, and to perform all other acts which are necessary or appropriate to issue the bonds or notes. If the bonds or notes authorized by this resolution are issued on a tax-exempt basis, the officials are authorized to bind the town pursuant to such representations and covenants as they deem necessary or advisable in order to maintain the continued exemption from federal income taxation of interest on the bonds or notes, including covenants to pay rebates of investment earnings to the United States in future years. Number 7, that the town reasonably expects to incur expenditures, otherwise known as expenditures, in connection with the project described above. The town reasonably expects to reimburse itself for the cost of the expenditures with the proceeds of general obligation bonds and notes of the town described above. The maximum principal amount of such debt, both bonds and notes, is not expected to exceed $10 million. This declaration of official intent is a declaration of official intent made pursuant to the Federal Income Tax Regulation Section 1.150-2. The officials are authorized to amend such declaration or official intent as they deem necessary or advisable, and to bind the town pursuant to such representations and covenants as they deem necessary or advisable in order to maintain the continued exemption from a federal income taxation of interest on the notes authorized by this resolution, if issued on a tax-exempt basis, including covenants to pay rebates of investment earnings to the United States in future years. Number 8, that the officials are authorized to exercise all powers conferred by Section 3-220E of the Connecticut General Statutes and to make representations and enter into written continuing disclosure agreements pursuant to Rule 15C2-12, 15C2-12, for the benefit of holders of the bonds or notes to provide secondary market disclosure information, which agreements may include such terms as they deem advisable or appropriate in order to comply with applicable laws and rules pertaining to the sale or purchase of such bonds or notes. Item 9, that the first selectman is hereby authorized on behalf of the town to execute any contract with engineers, contractors, architects, and other persons of the project to apply for and accept local, state, and federal grants to finance the appropriation for the project, and to execute and file any grant application or enter into any grant agreement or other obligations prescribed by the state of Connecticut or any other granting entity. Item 10, that the officials and other proper officers of the town are authorized to take all other actions which are necessary or desirable to complete the project consistent with the foregoing finance the aforesaid appropriation. Number 11, that this resolution shall become effective after approval at referendum vote. Okay, so next is the motion part. I think it's appropriate. Anybody got any questions about this? Yes, Eric.
How did we get to $10 million for this
Oh,
when
We talked about it at the bond meeting. Huh?
we blocked at $5 million?
So okay, so the whole pavement plan, remember, was near 30 million. And we were deciding that you can't go out and authorize 30 million all in one time, right? So it's very common, and this was of some advice from bond counsel, that other towns do it in kind of like allotments, right? So Board of Finance discussed only funding, 2.25 million? That's what we talked with Bill Lindsay about. That's what we're saving for in capital project savings. But this is authorization to borrow, right? So when this goes, and if it gets approved by the public, we will have authorization to borrow up to 10 million. So if you look at it in a 2.25 or $2.5 million annual amounts, we will hold this resolution for like the next 4 years, where then we can reassess the program, reassess the funding. But if we were to do this in $2.5 million resolutions, we could potentially hold up a lot of work because of that too. And you'd be going out every single year and potentially holding up the road work to get done. So it's very typical for towns to kind of bite off a chunk, ask the people to say, will you authorize us to borrow up to this amount for these road projects? And then the Board of Finance decides how to fund it, how much to fund, but this is authorization to borrow.
This isn't $10 million bonding
Not
this
authorizing
year,
us to
next year.
borrow 10 million. It's not saying, you're not signing a check for $10 million. That's, you know, you're asking the town for permission to borrow up to 10 million for this pavement project.
One of the reasons I'll speak now, then you guys get your turn too. I'm a little troubled by this myself. One of the reasons I was eager to get into bonding is that we can link the work with the payment. So,
So that's the way we finance it. We have two separate things we're doing. Right now, we're just authorizing borrowing.
I got
Then
that,
we're gonna figure out how to finance it.
I got that, but we're not gonna use the 10 million in the next year or two.
No. It's kind of like open space in some aspects, right? You have a $5 million authorization to make purchases as they arise.
Yeah, so
It's a similar concept because we were advised from bond counsel, if you just go out for a $2 million authorization, it takes weeks and weeks and months to write these up, to get them approved by all the boards, to go to town meeting. We could potentially hold up the project for a whole season, for a whole summer.
plus it's additional expense.
Right, and you don't want bond counsel to have to do resolutions every single year for $2 million for the same exact thing, right? So you're cutting it in thirds, kind of, because we had that big plan that was, you know, in the upwards of 30 million. It gets us authorization to get some work done. It gives us time to assess the plan. But it doesn't hold us to constantly asking bond counsel to draft resolutions for the same thing over and over every year.
Well, one of the reasons I thought we were going to a bond is that money costs money. I mean, this is not a free lunch, but we'll be able to do the big projects at minimal financial cost and not shock the taxpayers in the spring when we have our yearly referendum. Otherwise, things keep getting turned down, the can keeps getting kicked down the road. So we didn't want that, but 10 million was a little bigger nut than what I had in my mind as well.
That was the number we had targeted, you know, with bond counsel through the bond meetings and information sessions that we've had.
So bond counsel advises that 10 million is a good number to use.
And so it really is, you know, it was an operations questions between the selectmen and myself and what we talked about with Bill Lindsay and all that stuff. So that was it's very similar to how you guys just came up with your $15,000 target for the policy, right? You have to start somewhere. We weren't comfortable asking for 30 million, right? That would have been a lot. That's a huge shock. But again, we need to have enough space to start this plan. Start actually doing some work.
Any other questions or comments?
Yes, okay, go ahead. So with this 10 million, you're talking about 2.5 million every year.
That was the target we talked about, right? Yeah.
So we're looking at basically, if we're looking at 30 million to do the entire town, we're looking at a 12-year period to get everything from start to finish, our roads where we need to be. This 10 million we don't need to come back in 4 years and say, hey, we want to do another 10 million. We can just carry this over until.
No, we will. When we've spent this 10 million, whether it be 4 years or 15 years, we'll have to come back to the town, just like open space. When we go out for those open space bonds, it's a $5 million, and then you purchase little properties at 200,000, 400,000, 600, you know, it takes, I think jokingly, Jim said it took like 15 years to go through the last 5 minutes, right? So whatever the time frame is for us to go through this appropriation, we will have to go back after we spend 10 million to the town. And if we're using very rough $2.5 million numbers, it would be approximately 4 years. But you know how all that goes too, you know?
I would just make sure that if this moves forward, that the taxpayers, when it comes to the referendum, know and understand that it's not $10 million this year.
Yeah, it'll be very similar, and we tried to express that, like, it's very similar to an open space bond in some aspects, only because people can understand that concept.
Okay. Anybody else wanna talk? Joe?
Yes, refresh my memory. We're using the example of open space. So I know that we vote and approve X amount for open space.
Yeah.
5 million or whatever, and then, but when a piece of property comes up, we do have to vote on it as a
Because
town.
it's an acquisition, right, yeah.
So I feel okay about that because the town then has a say in purchasing the property. I feel like this gives a lot of, I'm a night school graduate, so I'm not, certainly not the smartest person in the room. I feel like, I understand what you're saying. I'm just saying I've become very cynical and sitting here for 6 years, hearing up and down, we're only gonna do this with this money, and then 6 months later, we do something completely different and they go, no, we never said that. So I'm very
This is
nervous.
a very, very legal document. There's no, yeah,
Yeah, but
there's no mess around.
politicians lie, Valerie. I don't know if you ever.
Yeah, yeah. This is why I sit in the position I sit in.
Oh, yeah, and I know you get it from every angle.
I hear you.
I don't mean any criticism towards you.
No,
Is there anything, is there a limitation, I guess my question is there a limitation on, is like, or a maximum per year that can be spent?
No, this is just the appropriation to borrow. So the Board of Finance still has, all the control to fund it or not, right? So we go through the annual budget, we decide what we're gonna fund. This gives us space to borrow.
But a big project could be undertaken by the town with minimal input from our board or from the community. Is my,
Well, very strictly related to the type of things that are mentioned in this. It's not like this resolution can go be used to build a bridge or to build anything else, it's very strictly related to the pavement plan.
It listed the things that it could be used for.
So the question I think Joe is asking, I'm asking it too.
Yeah.
Is how is this $10 million gonna be spent? And I would think, before the Public Works starts work on a certain road or bridge or stormwater drainage, it has to be approved by the Board of Selectmen at work.
We have that plan. That was the whole idea behind
I
having the
got that.
contractors come out to identify where to start, what to do, and the most cost-effective way to do it. So that's what that plan is advising. That's my understanding.
Yeah, we were all pushing that at Board of Finance.
Yeah.
We've been saying it from day one, we need a good plan. That's why I waited so long to hear from the engineers. But how is that work gonna be done? And I don't think we're giving, this is my supposition, I don't think we're giving the Department of Public Works or the Board of Selectmen a blank check. Here, go spend this money.
No, we haven't spent anything yet. This is permission to bond.
Yeah, I
We
understand that.
haven't spent any money yet. And it's still the Board of Finance's purview.
So let's assume that this bond authorization gets approved.
Mhm.
Public Works then is going to have to come up with, in the next fiscal year, we plan to do X dollars worth, and it'll be, and it's these items.
These roads, yeah.
Board of Selectmen have to approve that because the Public Works works for the Board of Selectmen. And then as part of the budget process, it'll come here.
Right, kind of like we did, that's where we came up with our $2.5 million target in this last budget season, working with Bill Lindsay and his charts to see what we could afford, because we realized we couldn't afford the 30 million, right?
Right.
And you don't want to borrow for $30 million of roads if you can't get $30 million of roads done.
Right.
Maybe
In
a
one
struggle
time
to get
frame, right? Yeah.
$2.5 million
Right,
worth
so
done in a year.
yeah, that's a lot of roads too. It's a lot more than we're used to doing when at $400,000 a clip, So you're very correct in the aspect of annually, this is going to continue to be discussed through multiple boards. And the Board of Finance's purview is the actual dollar amount that it's going to fund it.
Does
So
that help?
Yes, it does, Harvey.
And there's purchasing policies and competitive bidding and all that stuff. It's well over $15,000. So all of that has to go through the Board of Selectmen and purchasing and all that stuff.
And we have to, the Board of Finance has to approve the expenditure of that money. We're approving getting the bonding, getting the $10 million of bond money,
Mhm.
but we also approve the expenditure. Like it is open space, we approve the expenditure of monies for buying open space.
Right.
So there should be a number of checks and balances on this $10 million. They can't go out and spend all of it once. And
Correct. Yeah, there's definitely no
according to
blank
the
check.
plan that we approved as well. And, but I don't think it was, I remember the plan, when we talked about it, it wasn't in concrete yet. There's some flexibility
Yeah.
with numbers, depending on the bid contracts and so forth, and engineering contracts. So I guess I'm trying to say, and Harvey, I'm just repeating what Harvey said, there are a number of checks and balances
Mhm.
before this money's spent, before checks are cut.
Correct. And this is, again, authorization to bond. This
Just to
is
get the
not
money.
writing a check for $10 million. Yeah.
And the reason it's $10
We
million,
have to decide how to fund it.
yes, the reason we picked the $10 million number, that's what our consultants recommended.
Mhm. It's about a third of the plan. Again, it'll give us some space to get the plan started, but it also gives us a chance to stop and reassess the plan after the 10 million.
Thank you. Anybody have any other questions, comments? Bill does.
I'm reading item 1, the first sentence thereof. It spells out in very, very, very clear detail things on which the money can be spent.
Correct.
Clearly spells it out. And it also spells out the issue of who will make the decision, because it says selected by town road, selected by the Public Works Department in accordance with the recommendation of the pavement management study conducted by Beta Group. So it isn't, I mean, we saw that study, we've seen it, and we've seen how roads are ranked and everything. So it seems to me that the checks and balances, if you will, relative to that, how it's going to be, are very clearly delineated in number 1. Then there's all of the town checks and balances that exist for the spending of the public's money. So, you know, to me, this makes, and 10 million, let's see, 2.5 million times 4 is
4 years if
10 million. Seems to be in kind of what we've talked about before, that, you know, but again, I look at the legalese here, and unfortunately, unlike all of you, I notice I'm supposed to put my name on it and my signature. I just got to tell you, I don't have $10 million handy unless I win Powerball. But then that's a whole different ballgame. But I think it's really very clearly delineated, and I again say, look at paragraph 1. I mean, that really is pretty clear as to what can and cannot be done. And there's no expiration on this, i.e. it has to be done by 2029. There's no date like that in it.
Yeah, that's one of the things, one of the reasons we pushed for bonding. It forced us to have the town to have a plan, a long-term plan, not a year-to-year plan, but a long-term plan. So the money can be spent wisely and efficiently and match the work done. Plus, bonding is a fairly less expensive means of getting public financing.
If I can, one more, we've had any number of discussions, public discussions, involving the public, as has the Board of Selectmen, about all 3 of these items, quite candidly. So really, in some ways, it's no surprise, because this is something we have had a number of discussions about as a board.
Thank you, Bill. I have one more question. I thought we were gonna use some bands. We're not gonna use any bands in this.
Oh, yes. And so again, that's in how we finance. And then that's when we bring in Bill Lindsay and we talk about our capital project savings and how we're going to fund it and how we're going to finance it.
So the referendum to the public, to taxpayers of East Haddam is gonna say, yeah, assume that they approve this, so it's gonna be $10 million in bonds. But but then if bans make sense within the 10 million, bans will be exercised.
Yeah, it says general obligation bans and or notes, and so they call notes or bans, that's, yeah,
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you very much.
Yep.
Just let me make clear.
sure.
So I think we're all right, Joe.
I don't think, so I know I missed the meeting, but I don't think that Bill, you're absolutely right in what it says. But I know that we yank clumps of our hair out every year trying to re-explain the same points to the community. I don't think that our town has communicated what we're attempting to do. And I think if we send this, approve this, I think we're making a mistake. I support bonding to get the roads done, but I think that I feel like we're kind of rushing this here. But
I don't think we've communicated this enough to the public.
that's my concern, because I think it doesn't matter how many times we say that we're not spending $10 million right now. You're going to hear it this weekend. Why are you spending $10 million on roads? You spent $45 million, and I don't blame people. But that's my concern. So I'm learning
Well, we
that.
have a vote.
Exactly.
So you don't recommend approving this resolution tonight?
I think we should. No. I would say, I know that we can't do it this way, but I would say either a smaller amount. Were you, as our chairman, can you either explain for the record how this process came to be, or were you at least involved and keyed in on the process? Because this just goes back to the same thing all the time. I whined about the $90,000 police cruiser I wasn't supporting. That's a lot less money than $10 million. Even a high school graduate can figure that out. So I'm okay with spending another month trying to educate the community on what we're trying to do. Same thing, because we're not trying to spend $10 million. We're trying to appropriate $10 million, right?
You suggest we do more public information sessions? How do we, because we've done a public information session. We've talked about this during budget time. Bill Lindsay was here to help us figure out how to save for this plan. We met with the contract, how else,
To
like,
our
I'm just
boards,
curious.
To our boards, yes. I think that the communication's been adequate.
I think what, if I may, I think what Joe's driving at is the Board of Selectmen understand what they're doing. We understand what we're doing and how it all works. But Joe's concern is that everybody ain't us. They didn't have the opportunity to hear Bill Lindsay or all that stuff. And yes, there was one public information session, which I guess was reasonably attended, but let me make a suggestion. Okay. Or a comment, I don't know what it is, figure out what it is. I would move ahead, if it were me, I'm comfortable moving ahead with these 3 resolutions. But then what we should communicate clearly to the Board of Selectmen and to ourselves is that we need a communication plan prior to the referendum. So once the referendum date is set, the town can't say boo.
But we have a explanatory text
Right.
that will, right. That states the facts of it.
I can't, all it can be is the
Advocate for
facts,
the
ma'am, and
project,
nothing but the
yeah.
facts. It
We
can't
can't
be.
advocate, we go into a no advocacy period,
Right.
that's what.
So what I'm suggesting, to see whether it works or not, I don't know if it does, is pass the resolutions, have a chat with the Board of Selectmen. We aren't comfortable setting a referendum date before some more public education has been done. And somebody can write this up as an article for the East Haddam News if they're deigned to print it. Right, just how we got to where we are, what the plan is, what the steps going forward are, and so on. Boom.
Wait, can we do that? Can we pass the resolution but hold off on scheduling the referendum?
You can't pass the resolution and then continue to have public informational sessions. That is an advocacy. So.
So once we say yes,
Yeah,
I think.
which is why we did the public information session before the
a
Board of
wonderful
Selectmen
thing,
read
but
the process started
what
with
I'm
them.
hearing is it didn't reach a wide enough audience.
I think we should have a public hearing.
We did.
Do it
We
again.
did.
Do it
And
again.
so we'll have to, yeah, we will not be able to do that once we approve this resolution.
So I think there's a public hearing, advertise it well.
Mr. Chairman, sorry.
The selectmen already called it, and the non-advocacy period starts when the Board of Selectmen call it, and they've already done that. So you're now in a non-advocacy period, and I talked with bond counsel and Mike Patello, and he is very clear on that subject. All we can do now is explanatory text, which does go into the East Haddam News, that can only state the facts of what we're doing. That's the purpose of having that public informational meeting prior to this, because once the Board of Selectmen do their resolution, you're done.
Shuts it down, yeah.
Well, if we never approve this, they just spun their wheels, right?
Kind of odd that,
You kind of got us over a barrel, but I understand that.
Yeah. I'm not gonna go to, I'll leave the fire wagon and the 2 culvert things for the time being. When we did our exit poll, spent a lot of time talking to people. If there's one thing I heard a lot about, was the condition of our roads. If there's one thing I heard people wanting to get done, is our roads. I think the communication about our roads takes place every time we drive. I think people understand. When I've talked to them and I've had conversations, they know that, and they know the expense, and they know what's coming, and they know about the plan, surprisingly. The Beta Group plan and what's going on. I don't know how, and I understand what you're saying, Linda, so I'll let that go. We can't do X, Y, and Z, but I'm not sure what you're gonna gain by that. I think people know, I think this is an issue, I really do, where people are very well versed on it because they write it every day. And I think it's very tightly drawn. We have controls, once the town approves it, we have controls over what happens after that to make sure it stays on track. And I think, you know, we could put off forever, but one of the reasons why, and we talked about this in our meeting, that can's got so many dents in it from being kicked. And I don't know how many more roads we can kick down before we're in Salem or we're in Portland. I really don't. I do believe this is I think it's well put together. I think putting out information is the way to do it. But I think people are a lot more versed on this than we realize, my personal opinion. And I only live on a short road. And it's not on A list, it's on the A list, it's not on the DF list. So I'm not worried about it. I'm just telling you, I think on this issue, people are very, very, very well informed. Candidly. And I'm in favor of it, I will be honest.
Ed Harvey?
I guess I'm addressing this, I guess, to you and Valerie. Does it work here on your sheet? Were I to say the words, I move that the resolution authorizing appropriation of $10 million for road improvements and the financing of said appropriation by the issuance of general obligation bonds of the town and notes in anticipation of such bonds in an amount not to exceed $10 million or so much as be necessary after deducting grants therefore. I just moved this question. And if so, would anybody like to second it? Let's see if the rubber meets the road.
Do I hear a second?
I'm not sure I follow you.
I'm making the motion to approve this.
Thank you.
I have
And I
one
wasn't sure of the exact form of words.
Thank you, Harvey. Is there a second? Okay,
There's language on the back.
All the way back.
Back page, top.
So was the motion I just made duly made?
it's a motion for sure. Okay,
If I can. You're basically just taking the resolution here and putting it in motion form.
Yes.
The one on the back takes everything on these 3 pages, not just one thing. And I think, and I could be wrong, because I'm not a lawyer. I don't want to be a lawyer. Is that the guy say on the radio? I believe that the motion has to include all of the items therein, i.e. 11, all 11 of them. In order to be, because that's where the guarantees, if you will, are about what's gonna happen, is in item 1. I think your motion is, instead of that way, this does all of that.
Well, see,
Right.
so moved.
yeah, still looking for a second. I have a question for Linda before we go any further. What, if these motions are approved, what can be said about this plan?
Only the facts, and then in the selectmen's motion, and I'm not sure if it's in your Board of Finance motion or not, they talk about an explanatory text that has to be approved by the attorney and signed off by the town clerk, and Deb remembers that she used to do that when she was town clerk. And that goes in the newspaper, and that's all you can do is state the facts. Individually, if you can't do it, say as chairman of the Board of Finance or as part of the Board of Finance, but as a person, you put a letter to the editor if you wanted and all that, but you need to be really careful when you do that. There can be no advocacy. Only stating the facts. That's why bond counsel, when I get the explanatory text that we're gonna send to him, I'm gonna get back a pretty big red line version.
Yeah.
Mr. Chairman, there's a motion on the floor.
Yes, but no second.
I'll second it.
Thank you, Bill. Okay, discussion. Any discussion? What bothers you most? The fact that you're afraid that people in town don't know the full story? And they'll be troubled by the $10 million? Is that what the problem is? $10 million is only gonna last 4 years anyway, according to our plan. So what's troubling us?
I call the question, Mr. Chairman.
Okay? All right, all those in favor? Signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. Those opposed?
Nay.
Nay.
Motion is passed. Right, next.
If I can, real quick. I just find it interesting. I'm concerned about spending $10 million over the next 4 years. We approved spending $45 million in 1 year.
I'm not opposed to spending money. I'll spend all 30 million of it. I want it clearly explained to the community. And we talked from March on about all the boards working together on bonding projects. And I don't think that's been addressed. That's why I opposed it.
I'm going to pretend I'm Mr. Barney.
Yep.
This vote should have been taken by roll call, according to what you're gonna sign, Mr. Barney.
Does say that. It's on, it's underneath the resolution. Was adopted by the following roll call where you list out actually the favor and opposed by name.
Okay, we gotta rescind this vote now. Call by roll call.
I'm good at rescinding.
Point of order. You could just add, let the record state that Mr. Thomas, Mr. Gelston, and Mr. Barney, Mr. Corbett, and Mr. Kolozinski voted in opposition. And then you have met your roll call.
Let the record state that Mr. Barney, Mr. Gelston, and Mr. Thomas voted in favor. Mr. Kolosinski, Mr. Corbett voted against, voted nay. Right? Okay. Is that correct? Thank you.
To rescind.
That's good. All right, next is, wanna take a break, everyone?
I didn't take it. Thank you.
I think so, if she comes. Okay, Town of East Haddam Board of Finance, resolution authorizing an appropriation of $3,400,000 for the purchase of fire apparatus and the financing of said appropriation by the issuance of general obligation bonds of the town and notes in anticipation of such bonds in an amount not to exceed $3,400,000, or so much as may be necessary after deducting grants therefore. Resolved that the Board of Finance, otherwise known as the Board, of the Town of East Haddam, otherwise known as the town, hereby accepts the recommendation of the Board of Selectmen adopted at its meeting held on August the 6th, 2025, and recommends to the electors and citizens eligible to vote at town meetings of the town the following. One, that the town appropriate the sum of $3,400,000 for the cost of purchasing 2 fire apparatus, otherwise known as the project. The appropriation may be spent for the preparation of grant applications, reports and studies, informational materials, and other preliminary materials, permit fees, legal fees, capitalized interest, cost of issuance, financing costs, and other expenses related to the project or its financing. The Board of Selectmen is authorized to determine the scope and particulars of the project. The Board of Selectmen may reduce or modify the scope of the project, and the entire appropriation authorized hereby may be spent on the project as so reduced or modified. Number 2, that to finance such appropriation for the project, the town issue general obligation bonds and or notes pursuant to Chapter 109 of the Connecticut General Statutes revision of 1958 as amended and otherwise known as the Connecticut General Statutes, or any other applicable provision of law thereto enabling in an amount not to exceed $3,400,000, or so much thereof as may be necessary after the deduction of grants and other sources of funds received by the town for the project. Number 3, that the town issue and renew notes from time to time in anticipation of the receipt of the proceeds from the sale of the bonds or notes for the project or the receipt of grants for the project. The amount of the notes outstanding any time shall not exceed $3,400,000. The notes shall be issued pursuant to Section 7-378 of the Connecticut General Statutes. The town shall comply with the provisions of Section 7-378A of the Connecticut General Statutes with respect to any notes that do not mature within the time permitted by said Section 7-378. Number 4, that the first selectman or a majority of the Board of Selectmen and the treasurer, otherwise known as the officials, may be authorized to sign any bonds or notes by their manual or facsimile signatures and to determine the amounts, the rates of interest, the dates, maturities, the dates of principal and interest payments on such bonds and notes, the form of such bonds and notes, the provisions for protecting and enforcing the rights and remedies of the holders of such bonds and notes, and all other terms, conditions, and particular matters regarding the sale, issuance, and securing of such bonds and notes, and to execute, sell, and deliver the same, provide all supporting documentation as may be necessary or desirable to accomplish such purposes, and to comply with the requirements of the Internal Revenue Code of 1986 as amended. Securities and Exchange Commission Rule 15C2-12, otherwise known as Rule 15C2-12, and in accordance with the provisions of the Connecticut General Statutes and any other act of the General Assembly thereto enabling. The bonds and notes authorized hereby shall be general obligations of the town secured by the full faith and credit of the town. Number 5, that the officials are hereby authorized to designate a bank or trust company to be the certifying bank, registrar, transfer agent, and paying agent for such bonds and notes, and to provide for the keeping of a record of the bonds or notes, to designate a municipal advisor to the town in connection with the sale of the bonds or notes, that the law firm of Updike, Kelly, and Spalacy, P.C., Hartford, Connecticut, is designated as the attorneys at law to render an opinion approving the legality of such issue or issues. Number 6, that the officials are authorized to sell the bonds or notes at a public or private sale, to deliver the bonds or notes, and to perform all other acts which are necessary or appropriate to issue the bonds or notes. If the bonds or notes authorized by this resolution are issued on a tax-exempt basis, the officials are authorized to bind the town pursuant to such representations and covenants as they deem necessary or advisable in order to maintain the continued exemption from federal income taxation taxation of interest on the bonds or notes, including covenants to pay rebates of investment earnings to the United States in future years. Number 7, that the town reasonably expects to incur expenditures in connection with the project described above. The town reasonably expects to reimburse itself for the cost of the expenditures with the proceeds of general obligation bonds and notes of the town described above. The maximum principal amount of such debt, both bonds and notes, is not expected to exceed $3,400,000. This declaration of official intent is a declaration of official intent made pursuant to Federal Income Tax Regulations, Section 1.150-2. The officials are authorized to amend such declaration or official intent as they deem necessary or advisable, and to bind the town pursuant to such representations and covenants as they deem necessary or advisable in order to maintain the continued exemption from federal income taxation of interest on the notes authorized by this resolution. If issued on a tax-exempt basis, including covenants to pay rebates of investment earnings to the United States in future years. Number 8, that the officials are authorized to exercise all powers conferred by Section 3-20E of the Connecticut General Statutes and to make representations and enter into written continuing disclosure agreements pursuant to Rule 15C2-12 for the benefit of holders of the bonds or notes to provide secondary market disclosure information, which agreements may include such terms as they deem advisable or appropriate in order to comply with applicable laws or rules pertaining to the sale or purchase of such bonds or notes. Number 9, that the first selectman is hereby authorized on behalf of the town to execute any contracts with engineers, contractors, architects, and other persons for the project, to apply for and accept local, state, and federal grants to finance the appropriation of the project, and to execute and file any grant application or enter into any grant agreement or other obligations prescribed by the state of Connecticut or any other granting entity. Number 10, that the officials and other proper officers of the town are authorized to take all other actions which are necessary or desirable to complete the project consistent with the foregoing, and to issue bonds or notes to finance the aforesaid appropriation. Number 11, this resolution shall become effective after approval at referendum vote. Okay. At a meeting of the Board of Finance held on August 11th, 2025, on a motion duly made by board member and seconded by board member, the foregoing resolution was adopted by following the roll call vote. That's what happened. That's why I missed it. I didn't read that part. Okay, may I hear a motion to approve this resolution?
So moved.
Okay, Bill moves. May I hear a second?
Second.
Seconds? Okay. Any discussion? Okay. Question. This is 3.4 million for 2 apparatus? Thanks. What to say?
That's what it says.
Two pieces of equipment.
Okay, 2 pieces of equipment. Now, they will not be available for 3 years, right?
Yeah, there's a very long lead time for
3
ordering,
years.
right?
So is the money needed now or when we receive the equipment?
I believe you begin the purchase when you receive the equipment. We don't prepay for it.
Right. So we won't be bonding it now. We'll be
Correct.
bonding later.
Right.
And that'll be dependent on the financial markets.
Yeah, and there'll be a
Markets.
bid process on this one as well, and on the exact apparatus.
They have the opportunity to go for a grant.
Yeah, correct. So this language makes sure that if a grant opportunity does arise, we've put language in here, lesser grants, yeah, because we can't borrow for the grants, obviously, for that amount. So we did leave language in here to make that possible.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay, we're gonna do a roll call. Got our first and second motion. I just want to make sure I got this right. Okay. All those in favor? Signal. But, okay. Bill?
Aye.
Okay. Joe?
Aye.
Eric?
Aye.
Harvey? Aye. Yelston? Aye. Okay, motion is passed. Now, so Bill has to sign the back of this.
Yeah, I'm preparing those as we go along.
Okay,
I will do it after.
thank you. All right, next. Ready for the next one. Town of East Haddam Board of Finance, resolution authorizing appropriation of $2,387,750 for road culvert replacement work associated with BB Road and EP Gates Road, and the financing of said appropriation by the issuance of general obligation bonds of the town and notes in anticipation of such bonds in amount not to exceed $2,387,750, or so much as may be necessary after deducting grants therefore. Resolved that the Board of Finance, the town of East Haddam, otherwise known as the town, accepts the recommendation of the Board of Selectmen adopted at its meeting held on August the 6th, 2025, and recommends to the electors and citizens eligible to vote at town meetings of the town the following. 1, that the town appropriate the sum of $2,387,750 with costs related to the acquisition, replacement, installation, repair, restoration, and/or construction of culverts, wing walls, turn walls, cut-off walls, roadside barriers, and other drainage improvements associated with BB Road and Gates Road, including any pavement work, temporary bridge work, relocation of underground utilities related thereto. All of the above with such changes as the board may approve the project. The appropriation may be spent for design, planning, and construction costs, equipment, materials, site improvements, preparation of schematic drawings, plans and specifications, bid documents, grant applications, reports and studies, informational materials, and other preliminary materials, architect's fees, engineering fees, design fees, permit fees, legal and other consultant fees, insurance, bidding expenses, construction administration expenses, construction inspection expenses, advertising and printing expenses, capitalized interest, cost of issuance, financing costs, and other expenses related to the project or its financing. The Board of Selectmen is authorized to determine the scope and particulars of the project. The Board of Selectmen may reduce or modify the scope of the project, and the entire appropriation authorized hereby may be spent on the project as so reduced or modified. Number 2, that to finance such said appropriation for the project, the town issue general obligation bonds and/or notes pursuant to Chapter 109 of the Connecticut General Statutes, revision of 1958, as amended, and otherwise referred to as the Connecticut General Statutes, or any other applicable provision of law thereto enabling in an amount not to exceed $2,387,750, or so much thereof as may be necessary after the deduction of grants or other sources of funds received by the town for the project. Number 3, the town issue renew notes from time to time in anticipation of the receipt of the proceeds from the sale of bonds or notes for the project, or the receipt of grants for the project. The amount of the notes outstanding at any time shall not exceed $2,387,750. The notes shall be issued pursuant to Section 7-378 of the Connecticut General Statutes. The town shall comply with the provisions of Section 7-378A of the Connecticut General Statutes with respect to any notes that do not mature within the time permitted by Section 7-378. Item 4, that the first selectman or majority of the Board of Selectmen and the treasurer, otherwise known as the officials, be authorized to sign any bonds or notes by their manual or facsimile signatures and determine the amounts, the rates of interest, the dates, the maturities, dates of principal and interest payments on such bonds and notes, the form of such bonds and notes, the provisions for protecting and enforcing the rights and remedies of the holder of such bonds and notes, and all other terms, conditions, and particular matters regarding the sale, issuance, and securing of such bonds and notes, and to execute, sell, and deliver the same, and provide all supporting documentation as may be necessary or desirable to accomplish such purposes and to comply with the requirements of the Internal Code of 1986, as amended. Securities and Exchange Commission Rule 15C2-12, otherwise known as Rule 15C2-12, and in accordance with the provisions of the Connecticut General Statutes and any other act of the General Assembly thereto enabling. The bonds and notes hereby authorized hereby shall be general obligations of the town secured by the full faith and credit of the town. Number 5, that the officials are hereby authorized to designate a bank or trust company to be the certifying bank, registrar, transfer agent, and paying agent for such bonds and notes, to provide for the keeping of a record of the bonds or notes, to designate a municipal advisor to the town in connection with the sale of the bonds or notes. That the law firm of Updike, Kelly, and Spalacy, PC, Hartford, Connecticut, is designated as the attorneys at law to render an opinion approving the legality of such issue or issues. Number 6, that the officials are authorized to sell the bonds or notes for the public or private sale, to deliver the bonds or notes, and to perform all other acts which are necessary or appropriate to issue the bonds or notes. If the bonds or notes authorized by this resolution are issued on a tax-exempt basis, the officials are authorized to bind the town pursuant to such representations and covenants as they deem necessary or advisable in order to maintain the continued exemption from federal income taxation of interest on the bonds or notes, including covenants to pay rebates of investment earnings to the United States in future years. Number 7, that the town reasonably expects to incur expenditures, otherwise known as expenditures, in connection with the project described above. The town reasonably expects to reimburse itself for the cost of the expenditures with the proceeds of general obligation bonds and the notes of the town described above. The maximum principal amount of such debt, both bonds and notes, is not expected to exceed $2,387,750. This declaration of official intent is a declaration of official intent made pursuant to Federal Income Tax Regulations Section 1.150-2. The officials are authorized to amend such declaration or official intent as they deem necessary or advisable and to bind the town pursuant to such representations and covenants as they deem necessary or advisable in order to maintain the continued exemption from federal income taxation of interest on the notes authorized by this resolution. If issued on a tax-exempt basis, including covenants to pay rebates of investment earnings to the United States in future years. Number 8, that the officials are authorized to exercise all powers conferred by Section 3-20E of the Connecticut General Statutes and to make representations and enter into written continued disclosure agreements pursuant to Rule 15C-12 for the benefit of holders of the bonds or notes to provide secondary market disclosure information which agreements may include such terms as they deem advisable or appropriate in order to comply with applicable laws of rules pertaining to the sale or purchase of such bonds or notes. 9, that the first selectman is hereby authorized on behalf of the town to execute any contracts with engineers, contractors, architects, and other persons for the project, to apply for and accept local, state, and federal grants to finance the appropriation for the project, and to execute and file any grant application or enter into any grant agreement or other obligations prescribed by the state of Connecticut or any other granting entity. Number 10, that the officials and other proper officers of the town are authorized to take all other actions which are necessary or desirable to complete the project consistent with the foregoing and to issue bonds or notes to finance the aforesaid appropriation. Number 11, that this resolution shall become effective after approval at referendum vote. Okay, roll call again. And may I hear a motion to approve this resolution?
So moved.
Bill moves. May I hear a second?
Second?
Joe seconds. Joe Corbett seconds. Okay, roll call. In favor or opposed? Starting with Bill Barney.
Aye.
Todd Gelston. Aye. Joe Corbett.
Aye.
Eric.
Aye.
And Harvey.
Aye.
Okay. The resolution is passed, is approved by the Board of Finance. All right. Thank you very much. Okay,
Right, we have the
yes,
grant.
yes, thank you. Okay, we added that to the agenda and we discussed the grant policy. Shall I read it again or do you guys remember it well enough to vote on it? We may hear a motion to approve the adoption of this grant policy.
So moved.
So moves, may I hear a second?
Second.
Thank you, Eric. Second. Any discussion? All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Thank you very much, the motion is passed. Okay, now we move to executive session. Thank you for coming. Yes,
I was wondering if I could join the executive session. I'm Curry Brownell, I'm Chairman of the Planning and Zoning Commission. I'm well versed in everything that is going on here. With your permission, I would like to be able to stay.
granted.
Thank you.
And so we'll have to list who we're inviting into executive session. I'll need to be invited if you'd like me there.
Yes,
And,
granted.
yeah, so we'll have to go through and, right?
So,
So I was gonna move, we go into executive session for the purpose of discussing the Black Birch Golf Course. And that we invite,
Corey Brownell, Chairman of the Planning and Zoning Commission, and Valerie Vallis, our.
who else? I mean, these folks back here, so.
Mike Callahan.
Yep.
And Mike Robinum, the vice chair of the ABC. Pat Burke.
What's the last name?
Burke.
Pat Burke, okay.
Okay, and Bob Gaston, they all have to be listed.
Correct.
Are you all residents of Town East Adam?
And this is, call it at 9:13, or you have to do the motion, right?
I made a motion,
Made a motion.
and we invited who we're gonna win, we just haven't voted on
Gotcha.
Second, then we gotta vote on that.
Okay, any discussion? All right, I wanna make sure Valerie's got your names. You got Mike Callahan.
I got Mike Callahan. I got the
Pat Burke.
other Mike, I'm not sure how to spell your last name, but I'll get it because you were in the other meetings, so I'll get it there. Pat Burke and Bob and Crary, yep.
Don't forget the orders on, I'll get the doors.
We have a second.
Okay, any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
That shut off.
Yeah, I'll take care of that
Okay.
at 9:40.